Welcome to day 5 of our Wellness Bootcamp for quarantine. Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Minke. This is Minke Wellness. And this quarantine period and all this pandemic concern is certainly giving us an opportunity to look at our stress management, okay? And isn't this a good time to practice stress management? I mean, we've got plenty of stress. So how do we intervene? What do we do? Now, again, you've heard me talk about my wellness strategy: stop poisoning ourselves, flood the body with nutrients, and manage our stress. So this is definitely our manage our stress discussion, okay? And we'll have several more of these, but what are some ways to manage our stress? So let's look at stress a little bit, and let's look at ways to intervene. If we understand a little bit about how the brain works, we can intervene a little bit easier and more effectively, in other words. And so let's talk about that. And what are some things we can do, practices, and is it a practice? Is it a skill to manage stress? And I'll tell you, it is absolutely a skill to manage stress. And a skill that you have to work on consciously. It doesn't just happen. It's not just going to automatically, all of a sudden I'm good at managing stress because I'm older. No, it doesn't. I do not see that in the world, right? Just because you're older doesn't mean you're managing stress better. So let's look at this. Okay, so what is stress? What are the sources of stress? One of the sources of stress, there's lots of different things, but one of the sources of stress is uncertainty. And this is definitely a time of uncertainty. And as we get more and more news and information, and one source of information says, oh my gosh, that's scary, and another source, experts are saying, oh, maybe we should rethink that model, and maybe the epidemic isn't as bad as we thought. And then, so you've got conflicting information. We don't know where to go with this. And so that increases the uncertainty. There's also just basic uncertainty. If I get this virus, am I going to survive? If my family gets it, are they going to survive? Is the hospital going to be able to do anything? Is there going to be enough ventilators? All those things, right? That you can feel the stress go up because we don't know. So how do we manage our stress amid uncertainty? Because the reality of it is there's always going to be uncertainty. If there's one thing that's certain, it's uncertainty, right? And how do we manage that? Now, some personalities are a little more difficult than others. They don't like that not knowing. And so they'll latch on to anything as if it's solid and say, oh, good, we know that now. When the reality of it is we don't necessarily know that. And so let's look at ways that we can live with uncertainty. Now, here's how my brain works on that. I'll just share that with you on how I manage it. And that is, I look at something that's uncertain. It comes up. It highlights the uncertainty. And I say, can I control it? Can I influence it? Is there anything I'm doing that I can do differently that's going to influence that? Yes or no? If there is, then I can change my action plan. If not, which is usually the case, then I just say, okay, nothing I can do about it. I'm going to move forward. Ultimately, this conversation that I'm having with myself about uncertainty brings me closer and closer to the only thing that I truly am certain of, and that's God's love for me. And that conversation that I'm having with myself leads me to that conversation with God, because I don't know how can I manage that uncertainty. And that is to rely on God and to have that. That's what helps me. I'm passing that on, sharing that with you, that one of my best stress management tools is to have that when my inner dialogue finishes and has no conclusion, then it turns naturally, automatically turns to God as that next answer. It should be the first thing, right? It should be the first thing I go to, but it's not. I admit that. I have to run through the hamster wheel. I have to run through all that stress. Then I turn to God and say, oh, okay, I can't control it. I should really realize I don't control much of anything and go to God with it, which I'm learning more and more to do and getting better at that. Okay, so, but how does the brain work on these interventions and these thoughts and these things? What can we learn from this? And that is one of the things that's true is that the brain can't focus on the conscious brain, the thing that we're bringing our full attention to. It can't do many more than one thing, and only one thing at a time. So as I latch onto something that I'm worried about, that I'm uncertain of, and that becomes the thought, that would be the negative, right? I mean, how do we stop poisoning ourselves? We're poisoning our mind by focusing on that thing that brings me down. Well, how do I stop focusing on it? Well, interestingly, the next part with the flood the body with nutrients is the answer. In other words, I can't focus on two things at once, so what do? I bring in the positive, okay? And it doesn't even have to be a relevant positive, but I usually use breath and I'll intervene. I can do that with an image. I can breathe in God's love. I can breathe in light. I can breathe in confidence. I can breathe in that courage. We talked about that on day one with valor, right? To bring in a little bit more, a little bit more power. I can use images that I relate to. I can breathe in and ask guardian angels to be with me, to guard my immune system, to be in my body and guard my body. And so I can do these things consciously and invite good things. And while I'm thinking about that, guess what? I'm not thinking about the other thing. I can't think about both of those at the same time. And so that's one powerful tool for us to intervene, is use an action breath, a breath with action. I mean, it's focusing. The actual breathing itself is the action that brings it in. Now, there's a lot of ways that I also, and when I was early days, and I'm going to talk about the early days, this was chronic for me. I mean, I would do this every 10 minutes. Literally intervene every 10 minutes until I just got better and better and better at this. You will get good at this if you practice it. It doesn't just automatically happen. It didn't for me anyway. I really honed this and got good at it. And just the acknowledgement of, hey, I live with uncertainty, and it's almost a comfort. It's almost a comfort. I know that sounds weird, but it's like, hey, uncertainty can be kind of fun. Not this kind of uncertainty we're experiencing right now, not so much. But once you realize that you can live and engage with uncertainty, that opens up possibilities, and it gives the chances for new things. So when the clouds clear and it starts to look better, those things, that uncertainty doesn't look so bad. So what I'm saying is, if you get better and better at this, you'll find a silver lining on the other side of it. Let's talk about how oils can help us intervene in this stress system, because this is fabulous. I love this part about essential oils. And here's where the inhalation, we're talking about breathing, the inhalation. Now, the olfactory nerve, the olfactory is the nose, the olfactory nerve feeds directly into the center of the brain where the amygdala sits. And the amygdala is that emotional processing center. That's kind of like that in a way, that worrywart that's sitting there in the middle, kind of directing things, and so there's the central processing for emotion is the amygdala. What's interesting is the olfactory nerve literally feeds directly into that. Have you ever noticed that our emotions are directly tied to, or let me put it this way, a odor, a smell can be directly tied to an emotion. In other words, we have a smell and it reminds us of grandma's cooking or something like that, and we're immediately transported into that space. It's a very, very powerful connection, the olfactory system. We can use this to our benefit. We can use essential oils. And what happens with essential oils, this has been shown in scientific research, that essential oils will go up and into the amygdala and affect that process, that part of the brain. And so it's effectively what we call an amygdala hack. We can intervene into that processing, because what happens, the amygdala gets stuck in one thing and it's sitting there getting circles over and over and over again on that one stressful thought. And we can breathe an oil in and it just calms it down. It gives us a chance to reset. Now, if I don't introduce a good thought in while that is on pause, then I can just go right back to the stressful thinking, right? So you think, oh, the oil didn't fix it. No, the oil gives you an opportunity to fix it. Do you see the difference? The oil itself's not going to fix it, but the oil will give you an opportunity to fix it. So let's get an oil. I've got my premium starter kit again, and this time I'm going to have to go, here's our 10 that we see on the front. I was too close. Now I'm going to pull this out and go to that compartment in the back. And we get, so we got to pull that tab in the compartment in the back where we already had found our Ningxia Red, and we find this amazing oil called Stress Away. So let's talk about Stress Away for a moment. And I'm going to point out that this, you can't see anything, it comes with this roller ball attachment. So you could put the roller ball on and use that and roll it on. I'm not going to show that to you right now. But this is the Stress Away blend. And it's a blend of essential oils that has copaiba, let me make sure I get this right, copaiba, lime, vanilla, cedarwood, ocotea, which is sort of a cinnamony, something out of the Amazon basin, has a lot of cinnamon type in it, and lavender. So lavender and cedarwood are both known for helping to calm the brain. And so we've got a phenomenal blend here, and for a lot of different reasons that we may be able to talk a lot more about sometime later. But the research on various oil components in here is very impressive. And so especially the beta-caryophyllene that's in the copaiba oil. So here's how we do this intervention. Again, we're talking about having this go up in, we're doing it in nasal inhalation. If the nasal system is completely clogged, you could still put it here and the oil will work its way up there. You could put it, breathe in through the mouth and try to get that to go over the palate so that again, the oils are making their way up there. But we're going to assume right now that we're just doing a nasal inhalation. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 drops. And I'm going to just gently spread. I don't want to vigorously spread because then it goes out in the air. I'm going to gently spread. Inhale, and as I inhale like a vacuum cleaner, I'm sucking those oils up, and I want them to go directly into my amygdala, and I can picture that emotional processing center just go on pause, almost like, you know, that reset on your computer. Just stop that for a moment, go in there and just let the oil saturate and just pause. Now do that in 3 breaths. So 3 breaths, I'm going to saturate the amygdala, make it pause, stop it for a moment. Now I'm going to use a breath to breathe in confidence, to breathe in light love, to breathe in some positiveness, some courage to move forward with uncertainty, to embrace uncertainty as a good friend. However we want to work it, whatever image we want. I can breathe in positive images. I can breathe in, like if I picture the surface of water and it's all upset and ripply, I can breathe in and calm the water. And I can use that as a metaphor for my brain and my life and say, I'm going to breathe in and calm the water. With so many ways we could use breath and imagery to intervene to bring in a positive. But ultimately, this is just this way to interrupt this stress habit pattern. In fact, the more we do it, the better we get at it. On both sides. The more stress, the more times we focus on stress, the easier it comes, and the faster we do it, and the better we get at causing ourselves stress. And likewise, the reverse of it is the more times we do this intervention, even if it's 100 times a day, the more times we do an inhalation intervention with essential oil, keep that essential oil in your pocket, do that every hour throughout the day today, and see how that helps your stress response. Again, this is a learning opportunity. We're talking about building a stress management skill, which is a wellness skill, very, very important skill, and what a great opportunity with the amount of stress that's happening right now, what a great opportunity for us to get good at this. Okay, so happy wellness, one day at a time.